So I think the whole world already knows this, but last time I checked, D-Shifter was a pretty good card against Tearlaments. Now, of course, regardless of how good a card is, sometimes you just want to play more copies of it, but it's kind of hard to play more than 3 copies of D-Shifter. However, there's kind of like a solution to this. For example, you can start looking at other cards that fulfill a very similar role as D-Shifter, and for going first, there is one trap card that is pretty much the exact same thing. And the card I will be talking about today is no other than Different Dimension Ground. This card is simply incredible for so many reasons. First of all, it's a normal trap card, so you can easily access it with Trap Trick or Lilith, Lady of Lament if you're randomly playing that in your deck, or you can even reset it back with Griffin, so if you're playing Tearlaments, you could actually cite this against like the mirror match, for example, if you're going first, and just be able to completely blow out your opponent, even if you get hit by Dark Ruler. And it's a lingering effect, and those effects are always the most frustrating ones to deal with, because once they resolve, there is literally nothing your opponent can do about it. Essentially, this card is kind of like a Macrocosmos that affects both players, but only for monsters, which is actually really good if you're playing Eldritch, because it would mean that your trap cards, your Scarlet, whatever, your Elixirs will not be going to the Banished, but they will be going to the Graveyard, which is exactly what you want. And since your opponent's monsters are always getting banished, this is basically just like D-Barrier against Tearlaments, because if they can't get any tears in the grave, how can they use their Graveyard effect to fuse? And on top of that, chaining this to Shaylin is actually so much value because you can make them lose so many resources basically permanently. And I want to say sometimes, depending on the format, this can actually cover more ground than D-Barrier. Let's just say you're hypothetically playing against Tri-Brigade, the deck is a link-heavy strategy, so D-Barrier is pretty bad against them, but Different Dimension Ground is actually really insane because if they go, let's say, Fractal Effect, you just go chain DDG, and then they have to banish a card, so they only have one BBW in the grave, and they basically just can't play at all. They can't even get access to the Revolt, so going second, they will not be able to play at all, whereas the D-Barrier would have done absolutely nothing. And this is also better than Floodgates depending on what deck you're playing, so let's just say I'm playing a Glass Cannon deck like Cyber Dragons. I don't necessarily want to play a Floodgate that could actually lose to like Twin Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, Duster, whatever. I want to play a card that I know for a fact will resolve, and that will get me a bit of time so that I can hurt my opponent, not really hurt myself because it only resolves on my opponent's turn, and then on my own turn, I go for the kill. And unlike Artifact Sanctum, you don't have to play a Garnet in the form of Artifact Sight, so every single time you draw a copy of DDG, you know it will be live and it will resolve. So again, I can imagine a lot of decks being able to play this card like Exorcister, Flunderies, Eldritch, Splight, Xatrila when it'll come out, and probably some other decks that can, even though they might lose to the graveyard, can still utilize this card, maybe in the side deck post game 1. But yeah, just don't sleep on this card, it really is a blowout. But that's pretty much all I had to say for this video. Let me know your thoughts about this card in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.